Yeah. What up, YouTube? Watching um the most disturbing band games. Iceberg. Sorry.
18 banned video games, 7 levels. From a racing game where winning depends on killing civilians to a game that literally
Now that's my type of game. Wow. Yeah. I might. Yeah. Let me just show ass up, bro.
caused a real life. These
What?
are 24 of the most disturbing banned games of
24.
all time.
Kobe.
The deeper we get into the iceberg, the more disturbing the content.
Hey.
Let's start at the tip of the iceberg.
You wanna
Level
see my
1,
tip?
Carmageddon.
Sorry.
When Carmageddon hit PC gaming in 1997, it immediately sparked outrage for being what many considered a violence simulator. Obviously, it began as a banger racing sim, but at some point in the development, the team decided that the game wasn't offering anything interesting or different enough to compete with Destruction Derby, another game with the same premise. So, they took a leaf out of Grand Theft Auto's book. They decided to award points for pedestrian kills. Points were awarded based on who you killed. Women were worth more points than men. Teenagers racked
Wow.
up 40
That's.
points. The elderly over 75 years
God
old scored
damn.
players the maximum, 100 points. It was basically a sinister value system for human life. Now,
Carmageddon.
sure, players could complete races conventionally by crossing finish lines like any other sim, but Carmageddon offered alternatives that were designed to be more appealing. You had to waste all competing vehicles or for every pedestrian on the level to win. Pedestrians could be killed by setting fire to them or colliding with their body parts flying across the screen and sticking to vehicles. The more brutal the kill, the higher the score. In multiplayer mode, players could steal
Some
points from each
multiplayer in
other
this?
by wrecking
Goddamn.
opponents' cars.
Oh, ma. Fuck.
Game's manual even included a giblet warning advising players to reconsider letting young
Young
children,
children, yeah, I
females,
don't think they should be.
unstable, or
Yeah.
nervous pets watch the game in action, suggesting they absolutely knew how controversial and ethically questionable this whole thing was.
Did they make bread
More
from it at
telling was
least?
the inclusion of a panic
Did
button.
they at least make money?
Pressing the minus key instantly removed all pedestrians' blood and gore if someone walked in while you played. Reactions
Damn,
around
they
the
thought it all
world
through,
were
huh?
undeniably horrified. Brazil banned Carmageddon outright, and the UK's BBFC initially refused certification unless all blood and gore were removed, which obviously would make the game unplayable. Germany indexed the game, prohibiting public displays and advertising, though adults could still purchase it under the counter at inflated prices, allowing them to do something without really doing anything. To secure releases in all of these various markets, developers created censored versions. After a 10-month appeals process, the UK eventually received a version where pedestrians were zombies with green blood. German gamers got robots with black oil instead of
Man, ain't
humans with
nobody trying to run
green
over
blood,
robots, bro.
but
Let's
it
keep it a
became
bug now.
nearly impossible to find a copy of the original game. Yandere Simulator.
Yandere, what's
Yandere
that?
Simulator began as a simple concept. You play as a high school girl eliminating romantic rivals for her crush's affection.
I
Disturbing
don't know.
as
I've watched
hell,
videos of this
sure,
skin
but
before.
it's simple enough to understand.
That's not weird.
Like most
I watch,
games of this
hold
genre,
on, what's
the
his name? What's that YouTuber's name, bro? I used to watch him all the time. About you and all the time. I don't remember. It's been
style
a while.
titles present cute characters with big eyes and colorful uniforms, designed to distract you from what is obviously deeply disturbing content. The game puts players in control of Ayano Aishi, a girl who feels nothing until she meets her senpai. Each week, a new girl falls for senpai, giving players a deadline to eliminate her before she confesses her love on Friday. Already, that's kind of messed up. But where the game really gets
Okay, I've never
disturbing
seen
is
this
through the
part though.
methods available for
Whoa.
killing. Players can murder rivals outright, dismember dismembering bodies and disposing of evidence. They can sabotage a girl's reputation until she offs herself. They can kidnap students, taking them to Ayano's basement where they're hurt and mentally broken until they become willing to kill for her.
What are you doing? Don't come any closer!
Okay, I've never been this far into this game.
Stop! No!
One particularly graphic elimination method involves throwing a rival's head into a fan and slicing it into pieces while she's still alive. It's unthinkably violent. But most controversial.
Okay, I've never seen that. I've never been this far into the game. Panty shot.
Players must crouch behind female students and photograph their underwear to earn info points. These points serve as currency to buy information and elimination schemes from an information broker. And that was the thing that made streaming platforms say no. In January 2016, Twitch banned Yandere Simulator completely. The developer known
Twitch.
as
My bad.
Diorlethemknw claimed confusion about which elements triggered
Just joking, man. Just joking.
the partial nudity, the suffering of school children, or something else entirely. The fact he had to ask was kind of the point, honestly. Yandere Dev faced accusations of inappropriate behavior, poor programming practices, and hostile responses to criticism. Voice actors and volunteers began publicly distancing themselves from him, fully believing that he did all of it. 10 years into development, the game remains unfinished, but the controversy is still strong as ever. Level 2. Postal 2. In 2003, Running with Scissors unleashed Postal 2 upon the world, igniting a firestorm that would cement its place as one of gaming's most controversial titles ever released. Set in the fictional town of Paradise, Arizona, players stepped into the shoes of Postal Dude, a sunglasses-wearing man in a trench
Postal
coat tasked with
Dude.
completing mundane errands like get milk or cash paycheck. If you knew nothing
What's wrong with
about
that?
Postal
Ah.
Dudes, you'll probably be wondering, how the hell does a game about getting milk get so controversial? Well, what made Postal 2 instantly notorious wasn't its premise, but its execution. The game offered players complete freedom to
Hold on, make it into the rim real quick.
peacefully or through extreme violence. You could pee on corpses, kick severed heads down the street, or set people on fire. You could dogs, then use them as weapons by attaching their heads to gun barrels. Cats could be used as silencers for guns.
What?
As you fired. Now it makes sense, right? The game wasn't even released in Germany before it was banned, and New Zealand went even further. They passed a law making it illegal not just to sell Postal 2, but to own it. Possession carried a $1,200 fine, while retailers faced $30.
This
God damn!
you're not ready.
Man, shut your bitch ass up, man. Nobody playing that shit, bro. Fuck out her.
Potential jail time.
Jail
Today,
time?
It's one of the most extreme bans on a video game in history. Computer Gaming World gave Postal 2 a score of 0, calling it the worst product ever foisted upon consumers. CNN's review declared it more offensive than fun, noting it simply goes too far too often. It seemed like nobody really enjoyed the game at all, too hung up on its violence or obsession with explicit homophobia, racial stereotypes, and
Nah,
inappropriate content. Running with Scissors embraced the controversy, proudly displaying negative reviews on the game's packaging. They even incorporated real-world backlash into the game itself, featuring an objective where players collect their paycheck from the actual game studio while defending against violent video game protesters. Like basically every other game in the franchise, Postal 2 developed a cult following, with its defenders
the?
arguing that it's satire, a brilliant caricature of our mangled, disconnected fast food society. Others pointed to its tagline, "Remember, it's only as violent as you are," noting the game can technically
Man,
be
come on, bro.
without harming anyone.
It's a video game. People are gonna do the
Which,
most.
admittedly, is true. But the ban is still in place today. The game remains unavailable in
Is that some? Never mind.
several countries, and as
Some have been lagging.
2021, German officials rejected requests to lift the ban. By the way, If you're
Now that
enjoying
dad
this
might be
video and want
Osama
more
bin
great
Laden.
video game content, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.
What? Oh my.
Level 3.
I didn't say that, okay?
Demonophobia. Demonophobia emerged in 2008 on Japanese file-sharing sites as a freeware horror game. The game follows 14-year-old Sakuri Kunikai, who, after
Sakuri
jokingly
Kunikai.
attempting to summon a demon, wakes up trapped in hell. What sets Demonophobia apart from other games isn't its gameplay, but the deliberate and intense focus on the protagonist's suffering. Players navigate Sakuri through a nightmarish labyrinth.
Yo, she's going through it right now. God damn.
The game features over 60 death animations, each more disturbing than the last. These aren't quick game over
Fuck's that?
but elaborate, unskippable sequences
Ma.
showing Sakuri's brutal demise in excruciating detail. Throughout every single one, she remains conscious, only to revive days later with amnesia to try again. One death scene involves Lucifer raising a katana between Sakuri's thighs, causing her to urinate in fear before being sliced in half from crotch to head. Others show her dismembered, crushed, or violated by tentacles. The game revels in its horrific executions. The creator, 237 Mr. Mister, faced accusations of producing pornography disguised as a game, with many players questioning whether
Gang, you.
qualified as gameplay.
Mr. Whatever your fucking name was. Somebody needs to take a good look at you, buddy.
Or merely served as a
'Cause
vehicle
what?
for disturbing animations. The game has since been described as Ryonage, a
Does that
term for
mean?
media focusing on the suffering of female characters. Despite attempts to release an English translation, Demonophobia remained controversial enough to be effectively banned on many platforms.
Yeah,
The
fair
creator
enough.
vanished without explanation, leaving fans speculating about behind-the-scenes pressure or even possibly legal ramifications for what he created. The game remains a controversial milestone in horror gaming. It's just not remembered for any good reason. Level 4. Agony, Unrated Edition.
What is this?
Unrated emerged on October 31st,
2018.
as Mastermind Studios' unfiltered vision of hell, a first-person survival
What the
horror
fuck?
game that pushed boundaries beyond what
What
most
the?
developers would ever
I did not think that was a
consider attempting.
Uh,
The original
get
rated
away.
version already shocked players with its horrific environments and disturbing imagery, but even that required censorship to secure a mature rating rather than the retail-killing adult-only classification. Stepping into Agony meant wandering through environments made out of what has been described as
Yo, back up,
visceral,
bitch.
meaty
Not gonna lie, what the fuck is you?
past dismembered bodies around and
That's kind of
nightmares
crazy, because that
tableau.
looks like it's,
Players
yeah.
controlled a tormented soul with no memories, navigating hell while possessing other martyrs and demons. The gameplay itself wasn't actually what earned Agony its notorious reputation.
What was
The
it?
uncensored, unrated edition restored content so extreme that Madmind initially couldn't include it due to legal concerns. This version featured a checklist of taboos that read like a regulatory nightmare. We're talking brutal and non-consensual scenes, eye gouging,
Okay.
heart plucking, and perhaps most controversially, exploding characters' heads. The developers themselves
Yeah, I don't know if I
stated
want to see all
plainly
that now, buddy.
leaving this content uncensored would result in the game being banned and us being sued. That they even put it there in the
Oh.
first place is
Do I say it deserved?
Hey, Meta, remind me where I park my
Man,
car.
fuck out of her. I'm just boy. Go ahead and beat the door, buddy. Thank God.
The game's environments dripped with bodily fluids, every surface appearing wet.
The fuck is that?
Within minutes of starting, players encountered demons engaging
Ugh.
in likely non-consensual lovemaking and scenes of a mother feeding poop to an infant. The hellscape was designed specifically to make players uncomfortable through a combination of bizarre eroticism
Oh,
and
yeah.
extreme violence.
You are doing a good job of making us uncomfortable, alright? Yeah, can you blame him?
Controversy grew so intense that the unrated
The fuck am I looking at right now?
mysteriously disappeared from many players' Steam libraries, later reappearing as free DLC after negotiations with the platform. Many of those who played Agony described it as overindulgent, the game seemingly built to shock rather than scare in traditional ways. Developers later defended their approach, arguing that if limits do not exist in the film industry, they should not exist in the gaming industry either, which isn't really how it works.
Yeah, that's. I feel like it's very different though.
Some, if not all, players were drawn to Agony precisely because it pushed boundaries. The game offered 7 different endings depending on the player's choices, constructing what the developers called a bloody puzzle full of sin and manipulation. Essentially, it's not only a test of endurance, but a test of how depraved you are. Level 5. Devotion. Devotion.
How is this gonna get worse, 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 and 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 worse? How does this get worse than that? Hold on, I've seen this elephant before. I've seen you before, buddy.
Psychological horror game from Taiwanese developer Red Candle Games. Set in a 1980s Taipei apartment, the game quickly earned praise on release for its atmospheric tension and disturbing storyline about a family's destruction through religious fanaticism. But just days after release, Chinese players discovered something hidden in plain sight. A small poster with an ancient-style writing that read, "Xi Jinping, Winnie the Pooh moron."
Is that going at him?
This is a reference to the banned Chinese meme comparing President Xi to the cartoon bear, and it ignited immediate outrage in China. Within hours, thousands of negative reviews flooded Steam. The game's rating plummeted from overwhelmingly positive to mostly negative. Chinese players felt...
Damn, that dude just had to write that bullshit. If he didn't write that little kiss, he would have looking at himself a good little game.
Betrayed, having enthusiastically supported what they discovered was mocking their country's leader. Red Candle Games scrambled to contain the damage, patching out the offending art and issuing an apology claiming it was merely a forgotten placeholder from development. "We do not have any intention to attack or insult," they stated.
Look at this little dude right here, man.
Failed to calm the storm.
Look at this little dude.
The fact that they used it in
Whoa, big little
was
dude.
enough to anger players even more. Within a week,
A
Devotion
trip down
disappeared
memory
from
lane,
Steam
a
in
quiet
China
place.
entirely. 2 days later, Red Candle removed it globally, supposedly to check for other hidden messages in the game. Their Chinese publishers abandoned them immediately, determined to distance themselves as much as possible. The fallout intensified even more. In July 2019, the Chinese government revoked publisher Endiven's business license. When digital storefront GOG announced plans to re-release Devotion in December 2020, they reversed course hours later after receiving many messages from gamers. Nobody could play this game, which is a shame because Devotion was a genuinely disturbing horror experience. Players control Du Fengyu, a struggling screenwriter whose daughter develops a mysterious illness. As financial problems mount and his marriage crumbles, Fengyu turned to a cult leader for answers. The game builds psychological horror
fuck is
through a
this?
claustrophobic
Snake?
apartment setting that shifts and distorts as players explore different time periods. The father ultimately performs a horrific ritual, submerging his daughter in rice wine and locking her in a bathroom for 7 days, presumably killing her. It's disturbing and dark and unforgettable, but unplayable. Thankfully, Devotion finally found a home in March 2021 when Red Candle launched their own digital storefront. Despite earning preservation in Harvard's library and critical acclaim for its atmospheric storytelling,
did you say
the game
Harvard's
remains
library?
permanently tainted by politics and hugely controversial in China.
So this next game, that wasn't even that bad compared to the other ones. Okay, like,
that does all the work for you.
like I mean, like,
Caution. With the free night in Cayman,
you know. Hard, what the fuck is this?
Harvester arrived in 1996.
Back in
marketed proudly as
1987.
the most violent adventure game of all time. This FMV pointing
How
the
bad
game
can it be?
placed players in the role of Steve Mason, an 18-year-old with amnesia who wakes up in the strange town of Harvest in 1953. What follows
God
is a
damn.
descent into madness. Even before
Yeah, do it
release,
hands up.
Germany banned Harvester outright. The country's strict laws against graphic violence in media made the decision swift and final. The ban remained in place for decades until reportedly being lifted in April 2025. The UK and Australian versions, when finally available, removed the notorious mystery of motherly love scene where children as their mother while she enjoys it. You heard me right. The controversy stemmed from the content itself, which willingly broke nearly every taboo. Players witnessed a teacher beating a child in the face with a baseball bat when questioned about air raid advice. A baby torture scene shows an infant
What?
fed tarantula eggs becoming infested with wasps, then having its eyes pop out. Characters offing themselves by hanging at the local diner.
No, that one's not that. Okay, okay, that sounds bad. But compared to the one that we just heard about torturing a kid, that doesn't sound as bad as it. Okay, oh god, what am I saying? Yo, who are these developers though, gang? Like, what am I hearing?
Woman convinced she's fat claws the skin off her face while looking in a mirror. There is something
Did it work,
to
though?
horrify everybody.
Let me
in
know. I
this
might
game.
gotta.
For
Jeez.
those unconcerned by violence, the intimate content was there to test you. Players
What do you
can
mean?
proposition their own mother for lovemaking. A father watches his daughter through a peephole during a lovemaking scene, complete with heavy breathing. It's all disgusting.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, bro.
If
Good luck,
you
Kaito.
make it to the end, the game culminates
Just
in a
is.
choice. For your fiancée Stephanie by ripping out her spine, which naturally is shown in graphic detail mimicking Mortal Kombat's fatalities, or refuse. Either way, the game reveals itself as a virtual reality experiment testing whether violent games can create killers. So, congratulations, player. You are the big test. Harvester took 2 years to complete due to its controversial nature. Writer-director Gilbert P. Austin refused to censor any of the content no matter what, causing delays. When it was finally released by Merit Studios and DigiFX Interactive, the game's marketing leaned into the controversy, with Merit CEO Jack Irons stating, "We're going to turn some stomachs out there." It's like they knew exactly how disturbing this game was.
Yeah, he kind of looks like Robert Downey
The
Jr.
game now lives on digital platforms
Did I
like
say that right?
GOG and Steam, where new generations encounter its disturbing vision, intact and uncensored. Thrill Kill. Thrill Kill was a fighting game developed by Paradox Development for the PlayStation in 1998. But it was
These
never
old-ass
supposed
games.
to be this.
What the
It began
fuck? Oh
as
my
a
god!
evolved into something far more controversial after publisher Virgin Interactive
Yo, he's beating his ass.
pressured developers to make it
Hey.
increasingly violent. The game's plot centered around 10 damned souls
God damn,
who
she went
committed
flying.
horrific acts during their lives and were sent to hell. There, Maruka, the goddess of secrets, forced them to fight to the death in a tournament where the winner would be granted reincarnation on Earth. Unlike traditional
It's pretty good to
fighting
me.
games with health bars, Thrill Kill featured a kill meter that filled as players successfully attacked opponents. Once filled, players could execute a Thrill Kill, a gory finishing move that would eliminate an opponent from the round.
What's so bad
Each
about
character
this?
embodied disturbing themes.
Sounds like Mortal Kombat to me. Like fatality, thrill kill. It's like the same thing. We're talking. I mean, from what I just said, she went, and then her head went flying. Kind of sounds like Mortal Kombat.
And backstories, including a librarian turned dominatrix who electrocuted herself with a cattle prod after killing her husband and sister for having an affair.
Never
A
mind.
plastic surgeon who killed and disfigured patients and died from infection after attaching a bear trap to his face. Hell of a way to
Okay,
go.
yeah, never mind.
People who sold human remains
Okay,
as food
yeah,
style-
you know what? Just forget everything I said, like, the last 2 minutes. Never mind.
Hell sausages, and an FBI behavioral analyst who became a serial killer. But here's the thing, all of these characters wore BDSM-themed outfits, and the game was deliberately designed with sadomasochistic themes. The producer literally provided BDSM fetish magazines and DVDs as inspiration for the art direction.
Okay, really forget
Quiet
everything I
moves
said
are
about
highly
comparing it to Mortal
violent
Kombat.
and intense.
That might have been
Names
wrong.
like Slap, Swallow This, Crotch Crush, and Miner
Crotch
69er.
Crush.
Paradox and Virgin
Oh no,
Interactive
I look here this shit.
intentionally pursued the first ever adults only rating from the ESRB
Hey, am I good in it?
specifically for violence, but not sexual content, which was typically the reason for such ratings. They actually succeeded,
Hey!
making Thrill Kill only the ninth game to receive an AO rating and the first for violence alone. But that was a massive mistake. In August 1998, Electronic Arts acquired Virgin Interactive, but they didn't like this extremely violent
EA?
and the AO label meant that it would never be anything more than a cult hit. Despite the game being 99% complete with marketing plans in place, EA canceled Thrill Kill just 2 weeks after the acquisition. They
Damn.
refused to release it or sell publishing rights to other interested companies, including Eidos Interactive. However, they never
I don't know
actually
what company
told
that
the
is.
developers about the cancellation. They found out online, which made them so angry they leaked bootleg versions of the game themselves, making Thrill Kill one of the most downloaded PlayStation ROMs on the internet.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I said this shit like at the worst time.
We use the Spectrum.
So it's like more common, like not even a minute later, talking about the backstories and them doing crazy stuff, man.
Hatred. In 2015, Polish developer Destructive Creations released Hatred,
Yo, that's what
an
these European
isometric
people
shoot 'em
are.
up with a key point of difference. Unlike other violent games that offer narrative justifications or satirical contexts, Hatred presented players with a straightforward premise. You are a misanthropic mass killer on a crusade to kill as many innocent people as possible. Go. That is literally it. The game opens with a chilling
What?
monologue from the protagonist, known only as the antagonist, a hulking long-haired man dressed in a black trench coat. He explains that he hates this world and the human worms feasting on its carcass, before setting
Man,
out on
fuck
his
out and just
killing spree.
kill. Never mind.
This weird, direct approach
Get
to
your
violence with
slew
no
in
moral
GTA, in
reserve
GTA, just in
set
case
Hatred
y'all.
apart from other games that typically provide players with reasons to commit violent acts. This was just violence for the sake of it. What made Hatred uniquely disturbing was its presentation. The game employed a deliberately cold black and white aesthetic with only blood and explosions appearing in color.
Oh
It
wow.
doesn't seem that noticeable, but that simple visual choice really made it clear what you are doing. It's literally
I
black
think
and
it was
white,
already pretty
proudly
clear what you
hunting
were
down and
doing.
executing innocent civilians who scream and run in terror. The gameplay mechanics reinforced this disturbing premise. Players were required to kill a specific number of civilians to progress through the game, with objectives explicitly listing how many innocents needed to be murdered to get to the next level. But the game also
There's a story in
featured
this game?
execution animations where players could regain health by performing graphic killings of wounded victims. And make no mistake, these weren't optional side activities, they were essential gameplay elements. Hatred made no attempt to soften its premise. There was no satirical commentary like in Grand Theft Auto, no zombies or aliens to dehumanize the targets, and no narrative justification for the violence. When asked why they didn't use non-human enemies, the developers bluntly stated that killing virtual people makes more of an impression, because unlike zombies, innocent people would run away from you, which is a bizarre explanation.
Yeah, it
The
is. I mean, it's not
controversy was
lying,
so
but
strong,
it's
Valve
pretty crazy.
temporarily removed it from Steam Greenlight following backlash, only to reinstate it the very next day after receiving a personal apology from the developers. The game ultimately received an adults-only rating from the ESRB, a rarity in gaming. Despite the uproar, critics found Hatred's most damning quality wasn't its controversial content at all.
What was
It
it?
just sucked.
Oh.
Controls were described as clumsy, AI was uniformly terrible, and the experience quickly became repetitive and dull. By the second level, players reported praying for gameplay twists that never came. It was just killing. And unless you were a psycho, that was boring as hell.
Yeah, agreed.
Level 6. Atomic Heart.
fucking heard of this
Atomic
game
Heart
before.
is a visually stunning
Or heard the
first-person
name
shooter
before.
set in an alternate Soviet Union where robotic technology flourished after World War II. The game's
What the
retro-futuristic
fuck is
Soviet state
happening?
is totally unique, not the kind of world you see in other games. That includes the protagonist, a KGB agent navigating through this idealized version of communist Russia. But that's also kind of the problem. Developer Mundfish claimed to be a global team based in Cyprus, but investigations revealed troubling connections to Russia. Reports indicated the game was sponsored by Russian investors, including connections to Russian oligarchs and sanctioned banks like VTB. Ukrainian officials grew increasingly alarmed as these connections surfaced. Vice Prime Minister Mikhailo Fedorov wrote official letters to Sony, Microsoft, and Valve urging them to block the game entirely from their platforms. His primary concern? That the money raised from purchases of the game will be transferred to Russia's budget to fund the war against Ukraine. Their concerns were not unfounded.
Oh.
Security researchers discovered Mundfish's Russian website contained privacy policies that weren't included in its English version. These policies allegedly stated user data can be collected and shared with Russian authorities, specifically mentioning the Federal Security Service, FSB, Russia's
Is this B?
primary security agency. But when they were confronted
Goddamn,
about
my
these
bad.
allegations,
My bad.
Mundfish released a statement that conspicuously avoided mentioning the
Fuck!
Ukraine war directly, instead describing themselves as a pro-peace
Ah, damn it, I
organization
don't got
against
water.
violence against people, which is vague to say the least. The whole
Fuck.
ordeal led cybersecurity experts to the belief that Russian-developed software, including games like Atomic Heart, could provide unprecedented access to Western computers. Unfortunately, the world isn't really paying attention to a threat like that. Despite reaching 5 million players, the
God damn.
controversies continued mounting until Mundfish eventually shut down its online store completely, claiming the privacy statement was outdated and wrong. Yet they never actually directly addressed claims about Russian funding or their Moscow connections.
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube. And YouTube Music Premium, a whole lot.
Fuck Otter.
Ethnic cleansing. In January 2002, a video game was released that would become notorious as one of the most racist games ever created.
Hold on now, that's my.
Ethnic
Okay.
Cleansing,
I'm
developed
bugging.
by the National Alliance, America's largest neo-Nazi organization at the time, was designed with one explicit purpose: to spread white supremacist ideology through the increasingly
Not my
popular
type of game.
medium
That is not my type of game.
The National Alliance, under the leadership of William Pierce, had quickly recognized the potential of video games as recruitment tools for young people. Using the open-source Genesis 3D engine, programmer D. Brian Ringer created a first-person shooter where players could choose to control either a Ku Klux Klan member,
Oh wow.
a neo-Nazi head, or an Aryan White Will character resembling the Oklahoma City bomber. That was really the only choice you had to make
Am I gonna
because
get banned
the
for
gameplay
this?
was deliberately
Hope
crude
not.
and offensive and extremely basic. Players navigated urban streets and subway tunnels, shooting stereotypically depicted minorities. When killed, black characters made monkey noises, Jewish characters shouted "Oy vey," and
What's that
Latino
mean?
characters exclaimed "Ay caramba." The final boss was a caricature of then Israeli Prime Minister
Yo.
Ariel Sharon.
What?
Basically, it was exactly the kind of racism you would expect.
That was
The
crazy.
game's release was strategically timed for Martin Luther King Jr. Day in 2002, sold for $14.88, a price point deliberately chosen as a reference to the 14 words, a white supremacist slogan. But the team behind the game had absolutely no shame about any of it. National Alliance Chairman William Pierce was explicit about the game's purpose, describing it as racially provocative and a medium for the message that could reach teenagers even before they were old enough to join his organization. By March 2002, Pierce claimed the game had sold 2,000 copies, with 90% of customers being white teenage boys. Their gamble was a success. The Anti-Defamation League immediately condemned the game, calling it a perversion of the very legitimate and
How
popular
did this
medium
game
of
not get
video
banned
games,
or
and the most
not allowed to
sophisticated
get sold?
racist game available online. Even the manufacturing company, which had unknowingly produced thousands of copies of the game, severed ties with the company when they learned of its content. Several
So you didn't
platforms,
know what you
including
were
Twitch,
selling?
explicitly banned the display of the game.
Yeah, fair enough.
Today, it's almost impossible to find a platform to play the game, but that didn't stop the National Alliance at all. They announced plans for additional games based on The Turner Diaries, the anti-government novel that inspired Timothy McVeigh's Oklahoma City bombing. The success of ethnic cleansing and the controversy it generated led them to a major realization. Video games were now a critical part of their multimedia propaganda approach to make more impressionable, vulnerable young teens white supremacists. They knew that the future way to radicalize vulnerable young men was in video games and online media. They were, depressingly, ahead of their time. Level 7.
This is the last
The
level?
Guy Game. In
What's this?
2004, Top Heavy Studios released The Guy Game for PlayStation 2, Xbox, and Windows. It was a trivia game where players answered questions to progressively unlock footage of real young women exposing their breasts. But unlike similar heavy games, the footage wasn't animated or acted, but was real spring break revelry filmed at South Padre Island, Texas. The Guy Game was designed to mimic the format of Girls Gone Wild videos that were popular at the time. Players would watch as host Matt Sadler quizzed bikini-clad women on beaches.
So this must have been at the time of his life if he was, because I'm guessing. Well, was he there when that happened?
Correctly, and you'd earn points toward uncensoring the footage. The game featured a flashometer that gradually removed pixelation from the women's exposed breasts as players progressed through it. What made this particularly disturbing is how the development team approached the project.
How's
Jeff
that?
Langenberg, who previously founded Retro Studios, creators of the acclaimed and boob-free Metroid Prime, directed this game that deliberately turned women's bodies into literal prizes to be unlocked. But the young women who took part received as little as $100 for their participation, with many likely unaware of how widely their images would be distributed, and with no way of profiting.
Tell me they didn't know that they were. What do you mean?
It took 4 months after release before one of the women featured in the game found out what was going on, and it could not have been more of a disaster. The woman filed a lawsuit against Top Heavy Studios,
Yikes, they're tough.
Microsoft, and Sony.
Oh, like she's about to get paid.
So she revealed a shocking fact. She was only 17 years
Oh! Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!
making Microsoft and Sony. But in doing so, she revealed a shocking fact. She was only 17 years old when filmed, making her legally a minor.
Oh!
Despite signing
Oh my god! Yo, this is gonna seem weird, but I guarantee you there was people, doing that. And then they're, oh my god.
With a fake ID, her age made her participation illegal, regardless of any paperwork. The court quickly issued a temporary injunction prohibiting further sales of the game.
I would hope so.
Status made the Guy Game notorious overnight. On their website, Top Heavy complained, "The man has decided that our fun and hilarious presentation of spring break revelry just wasn't appropriate for the world of gaming." It was a dismissive reaction that totally ignored the serious legal and ethical issues at play and painted them as the victims. But actually, the Guy Game wasn't just tasteless entertainment. It became illegal contraband containing what technically constituted child pornography
very
under US
illegal.
law. That controversy poured fuel on the fire of broader discussions about video game regulation, with Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich specifically citing it as a major problem while pushing legislation to regulate the sale of mature games to minors. The lawsuits eventually forced top-heavy studios out of business entirely. But copies of this illegal game are still occasionally popping up and
Why would
selling
you want to
for
buy this?
$150.
There's no way you buy it.
KZ
Dang, there's a kid on
In
this.
1988,
Oh,
a video
God.
game named KZ
So what am I
Manager
watching? I'm
fulfills
gonna get
the role
banned.
of an concentration camp commandant. The game spread across multiple platforms, including Commodore 64, Amiga, MS-DOS, and Windows, with various versions appearing through the 1990s into 2000. But all of them had the same deliberately horrifying gameplay mechanics.
What
Players
was that?
managed
Oh, God.
resources, including Jewish, Romani, and Turkish prisoners, poison gas supplies, and equipment. Success required the player to find the optimal balance between income and expenses through a disturbing economic loop. Prisoners had to be purchased, forced to work to generate income, then killed with Zyklon B gas when they were no longer useful. In some versions, public opinion within the game would rise when the player executed prisoners. Spending too much time without a sufficient number of executions made public satisfaction drop. If you wanted to be liked, you had to commit. German authorities quickly recognized the danger. In July 1989, the Federal Department for Media
Oh,
Harm
now
Young
German didn't
Persons
ban this game, huh?
indexed the game, restricting
That's
its
how it
sale
is, huh?
across the country. By October 1990, the New Ulm District Court had completely banned its distribution nationwide.
Yeah, about time, dickhead.
Violating German Criminal Code Section 130,
Is he going to jail?
incitement of masses.
Hey, man, I'm
Yet,
going.
despite these bans, underground circulation continued.
Walmart Plus. It's the membership that saves you time plus money.
Fuck off. Hold on, there might be a baddie post for Ayo. It's not even gonna show up, but what am I doing?
The game spawned multiple iterations, including the Millennium version in the late 1990s. No matter how many times the game was shut down, the Nazi supporters always found a way to bring it back around.
Of course it did.
Easy Manager is really the perfect example of an extreme case of dehumanization through interactive media. It's propaganda. Unlike most of the controversial games we've covered that merely depict violence, Easy Manager gamified it itself, turning real historical atrocities into resource management challenges. Players were encouraged to actively participate in one of history's greatest war crimes. The game remains largely inaccessible today, with footage and images extremely rare. Most gaming platforms and archival sites refuse to host it.
Good.
Most people simply don't know it ever existed.
Good.
Which,
Neither did
all
I.
things considered, might be for the best.
I don't even know 6 until now. Manager's crazy.
Manhunt.
God, we're still going?
Rockstar North's Manhunt dropped players into the boots of James Earl Cash, a death row inmate coerced into starring in a snuff film directed by a shadowy figure known only as the Director. Of all of the Rockstar games, this one was the most violent and visceral, with a
Damn!
goal at the heart of it. Execute gang members as brutally as possible using tools like plastic bags, hammers, and shards of glass, with higher scores awarded for creativity in killing. Stealth was secondary to carnage. All of Cash's players were filmed in grainy, voyeuristic angles, blurring the line between player and spectator. You are both. Critics labeled it a simulator, a term that stuck no matter what defenders tried to say. Unlike Grand Theft Auto, where violence was chaotic and often absurd, Manhunt demanded calculated and savage cruelty. Executions involved suffocating enemies with grocery bags, their limbs twitching as their oxygen faded, or plunging a crowbar into a skull with a sickening crunch. The British Board of Film Classification, BBFC, granted it an 18+ rating, but noted its sadistic focus. Retailers like Dixon's yanked copies from shelves preemptively, fearing backlash from concerned parents and activists. That worry quickly made its way across the Atlantic. U.S. Representative Joe Baca seized on the game as a political tool. By 2009, he'd introduced the Video Game Health Labeling Act, demanding
What was that?
on titles rated teen or higher, saying that excessive exposure to violent video games has been linked to aggressive behavior. In his eyes, there was no better example than Manhunt, which he said vicious, sadistic methods. Though his video stalled, his insane rhetoric only amplified the media panic and sales. Because, of course, more people wanted to play the game they didn't want you to play. But it all turned in Representative Baca's favor. In 2004,
Nice.
14-year-old Stefan Pekira was lured to a Leicester Park by his friend Warren LeBlanc, 17, who bludgeoned him with a claw hammer and stabbed him repeatedly.
Jesus.
LeBlanc, who'd pleaded guilty to murder, was said to be obsessed with manhunt by Stefan's family. British tabloids quickly splashed the connection all over its pages, claiming the killer's weapon matched tools in the game, that his attacks mirrored its stealth kills. Retailers again pulled the game, and Rockstar faced lawsuits about random acts of violence that were being linked to its creation. The facts, however, muddied the narrative. Police found no evidence linking the crime to the game, and LeBlanc's lawyers never invoked it during sentencing. Rockstar countered that Manhunt was rated 18+, and LeBlanc shouldn't have owned it in the first place. The BBFC
I got a point there, for being
denied
honest.
classification, citing the game's lack of innocent targets and mission-based structure. But despite all of that, by 2007, the sequel Manhunt 2 was banned outright in the UK. To this day, it's still a hot topic about whether violent video games create killers or not. But Manhunt is always a part of
You know, I would think I would have to say
And
no.
hey, if you're still in the mood for great video game content, why not check out this video on the most disturbing unsolved game mysteries?
Nah, I think I've seen enough of that. What the fuck? There's no way this is real. Hold on. Fuck. Did I get clickbaited? Yeah, I think I did. Anyways, W vid, man. Well, maybe not W, but it was interesting to say the least, I guess.